Money. It has always been more than paper, more than metal, more than numbers on a screen. It is trust, belief, and power condensed into a single human invention. For centuries, civilizations rose and fell on the value of what people held in their pockets. But what if I told you that the very idea of money, as you know it, is dying right before your eyes? What if the future of money has already been written, just not shared with you? This is the story of how we got here, and what they're not telling you about where we're going. In 2008, as the world staggered under the weight of the financial crisis, a young man in Ohio named Daniel Alvarez watched his parents lose their home. He was 17 years old, just beginning to understand the cruel mechanics of money. His father had worked for a car parts supplier for 25 years. His mother ran a small neighborhood bakery. They had done everything right, paid their bills, saved what they could, trusted the system. And yet, when the banks collapsed, when Wall Street was rescued but Main Street was abandoned, they were left standing on the sidewalk as strangers carried their furniture out of the house. That night, Daniel overheard his father whisper to his mother, "Money isn't real. It's just a game, and we don't know the rules." Those words burned into his soul. Years later, Daniel would find himself working in New York City as a junior analyst at a hedge fund. He watched billions move across screens with a few keystrokes, some so massive they dwarfed the lives destroyed by them. The very people who caused the crisis now sat at the top of the new financial order. But at the same time, a parallel revolution was unfolding. Bitcoin, Ethereum, decentralized finance, a new language of money was being written in real time, and Daniel was there to see it. At first, he dismissed it. Fake internet money, his boss scoffed. It'll collapse. Yet Daniel couldn't shake the memory of his father's words. If money was a game, maybe this was a new rulebook, one not controlled by the same old players. But here's the part they don't tell you. Behind the headlines, behind the hype of crypto billionaires and NFT bubbles, governments and central banks were watching. Quietly, patiently, because they knew what most people did not. The future of money would not be left in the hands of anonymous coders or Silicon Valley dreamers. No, the future would be written in marble halls, in smoke-filled back rooms, in central bank meetings where the public was never invited. Daniel discovered this truth by accident. One evening, working late at the fund, he stumbled across an internal memo circulating among high-level economists. It discussed something called the CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency. The United States, China, the EU, they were all preparing it. A digital dollar, a digital yuan, a digital euro. Not just cryptocurrency, not freedom, not decentralization, but money tied directly to the government, programmable, traceable, and completely under their control. Suddenly, the future of money looked less like liberation, and more like surveillance. This revelation consumed Daniel. He dug deeper. He read papers by economists like Kenneth Rogoff, who argued that cash itself, the freedom to pay anonymously, would one day vanish. He watched Anthony Scaramucci speak passionately about Bitcoin as digital gold, a hedge against inflation, a way out of the system. Two competing visions, one of liberation, one of control, and Daniel began to see the outlines of the battle that would define his generation. On one side, those who believed money should be free, borderless, owned by the people. On the other, governments and corporations who saw in digital money the ultimate power, the ability to track every purchase, set expiration dates on spending, even turn off your wallet with the push of a button. The human cost of this battle became clear when Daniel returned home to visit his parents. His mother's bakery was struggling again, this time not from the crisis, but because customers were moving to tap to pay and digital wallets. She confessed something heartbreaking. Sometimes I don't even get real cash anymore. Just numbers. And I don't trust numbers. His father added bitterly, "One day, son, they'll tell us when and how we can spend. Freedom will be gone." Daniel realized then that this wasn't just about economics. It was about human dignity, autonomy, and trust. So he made a choice. He left the hedge fund. He began working with grassroots organizations teaching people about financial literacy, about Bitcoin, about the dangers of central bank digital money. He became a voice, small at first, then growing louder, in a global movement demanding transparency about the future of money. It wasn't easy. He was mocked, branded a conspiracy theorist. Some of his friends abandoned him. He was threatened by online trolls who called him dangerous. Yet he pressed on, because the truth was too important. And here's where the story reaches you, the listener. Because the future of money is not a distant idea. It is already here. Every time you swipe a card, every time you use a digital wallet, every time you see another store refuse cash, you are participating in a shift as monumental as the invention of the printing press. The question is, who will control it? Will it be the few, or the many? Will money be a tool of freedom, or a weapon of control? That is the question Daniel asked. That is the question Anthony Scaramucci debates. That is the question Kenneth Rogoff warns about. And that is the question we must all answer. In the end, Daniel's father lived long enough to see one final shift. When the US announced its first trial of the digital dollar, Daniel sat with him on the porch, watching the sun sink over the horizon. His father shook his head slowly. "They've changed the game again," he said. Daniel replied, "Maybe. But this time, Dad, at least we know the rules. And maybe, just maybe, we can rewrite them." And that is the heart of the story. Money is not just currency. It is memory. It is choice. It is power. What they're not telling you about the future of money is that it isn't written by economists, or hedge fund managers, or central banks alone. It is written by all of us, every time we decide what we value, what we believe in, and what we're willing to fight for. The question isn't just what the future of money will be. The question is, what kind of future will we build with it?